Are you thinking about the crucial building blocks that are needed to establish grassroots AI agents in your organization? I'm Karan Gupta, and today we'll talk just about that. We'll revisit what we covered on people, process, and technology in the previous episodes, and then we'll deep dive into four powerhouse topics today, which is data, controls, security, and responsible AI. We'll finish by exploring a real world example, which is an insurance policy lookup tool, to show how these ideas come together. Let's do a quick recap on people and process and technology, which we spoke about in our previous discussions. We talked about six core capabilities that set stage for holistic AI agent processes at grassroots level. Number one was people and process, then technology, then data, then controls, security, and responsible AI. In earlier episodes, we spoke about the first two. The first is people and process. We highlighted the importance of a cross functional framework, teamwork, bringing together domain experts, developer, and user experience folks. We also stressed on agile governance so you can test ideas quickly and gather feedback without getting bogged down. We also spoke about how do we come up with a consistent use case collection process so that later on it can be normalized at a department level or at the enterprise level. Then we spoke about technology. Here we covered how user friendly and robust AI ML tooling can break or make your AI initiatives. We also talked about seamless integration with your existing systems and scalable infrastructure to handle both small pilots as well as large scale rollouts. Now, for the remainder of our conversation, we are zooming in on the other four dimensions, which is data, controls, security, and responsible AI. This is where you ensure your AI agents are not only powerful but safe, ethical, and effective. So let's very clearly lay out our focus for today. First, we'll talk about data. How do we gather it? How do we clean it? How do we store it so that AI agents can learn and respond effectively? Then we'll talk about controls. What processes and guardrails do we need so that we can monitor AI's performance and step in when needed? Then we talk about security. How do we protect and access our data and the AI agents effectively? Then we'll talk about responsible AI, which is how do we create ethical guidelines and provide training so that AI behaves responsibly and we can catch on biases early. Let's jump right into the essential questions and practical tools that you should keep in mind for each of these categories. So, first, let's start with data. Data is the lifeblood of an AI agent. Here are some critical pieces that you need to consider and think about. Number one is integration and tagging. Ask yourself, what data sources are critical? How do we keep them up to date and properly loaded? Setting up simple connectors like using ETL tools or APIs will help your AI agents quickly get the information that is needed. And as a leader, it is important to very clearly establish what are some of the critical sources of data that can be read by the AI agents and actioned upon. Second aspect is cleaning and preparing. Before data hits your AI agents, you need to ensure it's clean and consistent. Ensure that little data wrangling, whether it is scripts written in pandas or low code platforms, it can dramatically improve your AI's accuracy. The third angle to think about is a short term and long term memory. AI agents often need quick access to context, like users' last few queries, plus deeper archives like policy documents, product catalogs, historical data, etc. How do you ensure you have the right data tooling in place, like vector databases, relational databases, caches, which can help access both short term as well as long term memory data? Thinking about scalable storage is also very critical. As at the grassroots level, you might start with something very simple, which is like a lightweight relational database or a cloud based store. But as the project grows, you will move more towards like advanced setups, maybe like a vector database, if you're doing a lot of semantic search. The second dimension to think about is controls. This is what helps us define who can do what and how to keep an eye on AI behavior. It is very, very important that even basic controls are established so that at the grassroots level, as people start innovating, we still want things within decent control. Think about very clear roles and permissions. Who is allowed to tweak the AI agent's logic or training data? Even basic role based access can prevent accidental or unauthorized changes. Think about monitoring and performance. You want to track logs, maintain dashboards so that you can detect any weird spikes in behavior or any dips in quality. Tools like Grafana, ELK, Stack, etc. are often enough to get started. We don't need a very robust, super large size setup to enable at grassroots level, but having these things in place will help establish a scalable model. Think about human in the loop. Not everything can be handled by AI alone. When AI hits like a low confidence level score while it's making inferences, you may want to trigger a manual review. Give a human expert the final say. Clearly defining the escalation procedures. Like if an agent faces data that it cannot parse quickly or it gets stuck, you need a plan for where it needs to go next, like a compliance manager or a technical SME, etc. Having clearly defined escalation procedures can be super helpful at the grassroots level. The third dimension to talk about today is security. Security is non negotiable when it comes to AI solutions. So, thinking about identity and access management, make sure only approved users and systems can access the queries and update your AI agents. Enterprise solutions like Okta or Azure AD provide a very straight way to manage this. Think about data protection. At the grassroots level, you can start with simple SSL, TLS for data in transit and built in encryption in your cloud environment for data at rest. But as you grow, you will need more layers like vulnerability scanning and advanced threat detection. But the idea is to start simple so that people get enabled. It's all about democratizing AI agents versus establishing large number of controls, large number of security procedures to get started. Think about credential storage. Don't hardcode secrets into your scripts. Use secure key vaults or other dedicated solutions to keep the tokens safe. Setting up a basic vault where people can manage their secrets is a great start. The last dimension is responsible AI. Responsible AI ensures that we are building solutions that are fair, transparent, and aligned with the organizational values. So think about clear ethical guidelines. You don't need lengthy novel style policies. No, just a short statement of what an acceptable AI use is and how do you avoid discriminatory outcomes. Just starting there can be a great way to enable your organization. Setting up trainings and workshops like short sessions, micro trainings on how to spot bias, how to evaluate AI outputs. This helps grassroots teams deploy AI responsibly. Think about basic bias detection and transparency. If you're working with larger data sets or diverse inputs, it's important to run basic checks for unbiased outputs. Tools exist, often open source, to ensure fairness, and you can integrate them into your workflow early on. The idea is you need to train the employees for these basic checks, give them the right tooling, and teach them how they can actually use it to automate their end to end workflows. Now, let's do a use case deep dive. If you remember, we spoke about different types of agent archetypes, right? Like we spoke about focused agent, we spoke about process agent, partner agent, orchestrator agents. And then we spoke about how different types of use cases are possible between personal productivity and domain specific tasks. Today, we are going to talk about one use case to see how things can start coming to life for somebody at grassroots level. And this can be a method to train people to see how they can implement these use cases. Today, we'll talk about one of the use case, which is a simple policy lookup. If you think about it on a 2 by 2, it falls within the insurance domain specific task and it falls within a focus task agent. So this is one of the simplest types of agents that grassroots employees can build and has a very domain centric lens to it. Let's do a recap of the four stages of an AI agent very quickly. The first stage is sensing. This is where the AI agent receives a user query like, what coverage do I have for flood damage? The second stage is decision and planning. This is where the AI figures out which database or external resource might have the right info that it needs. This is where the decisioning, the planning happens. Remember, this is not hard coded business logic. This is where LLMs come into play to build a decision plan, to build a roadmap of how it wants to tackle the problem. And this is where the magic is. The third stage is action. It queries the data, fetches relevant policy details, formats them for the users. This is the different types of actions an AI agent can do. Then is the learning. It asks for feedback. Did I answer your question correctly? And uses that input to improve next time. So now let's put these four stages into perspective on how it will realize for an AI agent use case for a simple policy lookup scenario. So let's talk about the first stage, which is what? Sensing. So think about you set up connectors to policy databases and other document repositories. A friendly interface, maybe like a chatbot, can handle the user input. The second stage is decisioning and planning. This is where the AI uses simple natural language to interpret the request first. And here, if you think about it, the interpretation could be on either text input or a voice input because we have multimodal LLMs now, which can even understand voice, which can even understand images. So there are different modes in which sensing can happen and decisioning and planning can be done on different types of inputs. At this stage, it chooses which data sources or set of policies to query based on the user's role and the question that has been asked. And this is a very dynamic flow. We don't want to hard code that if this is a situation, go to this database and look at the policies. If it is another situation, go to another database. We want to let LLM make a subjective decision here, but under the right guardrail. The third stage is action. This is where the AI agent executes a structured search, like a SQL query or a specialized search index, to find the relevant policy details. Here, it can actually do semantic search across policies, and it could be thousands of policies across it, which it can search not based on pure play text, but actually based on a semantic search which looks for nearness in match, not an exact match. It can present the results in plain English, perhaps highlighting key coverage terms. That is where it kind of understands how the user would really understand the answer based on the role, based on their persona, and it can tune the answer not to reflect exactly what's written in the policy, but how it's easy for the user to consume. These are some of the areas where AI agent can be magical. The fourth stage is learning. This is where it captures user ratings like thumbs up, thumbs down, text feedback, etc. It logs these interactions for continuous improvement. For example, refining how it searches or clarifies ambiguous coverage detail. Now to make it more real, now you understand what are the four stages, what kind of logic do you need to implement across those stages, and now let's map them to the six dimensions that we covered to understand what capabilities are really needed to build this use case. So the first is what? People and process. So, what you would need is insurance domain experts that can define the correct coverage details and the best format for presenting it. A simple agile approach like short sprints can let you continuously refine the tool. So imagine if the insurance domain experts itself in your organization who are sitting at the grassroots level could be coached and trained, and they could build this tool using low code, no code solutions. That could democratize how AI agents are developed, and it could create a swamp of multiple AI agents, which could really improve productivity across the enterprise. And the next stage could be to normalize it. The second dimension here is technology. So here, different set of toolings are needed for web, chatbot interface to capture user queries. AI ML tooling for natural language processing. You could use LLMs like OpenAI, GPT. You could use Llama. You could use Claude, etc. to as an LLM to do the decisioning and planning and to do the actions as well. Think about infrastructure. It could be a simple server, cloud based environment to ensure that the system stays up, but giving that right simple environment to the grassroots is key. The third dimension is data. So think about automatic data ingestion for the policy documents or databases. What if you had the right tooling for simple ingestion of these policies that the AI agents can consume? Simple tools for data classification as to which files are confidential, which policies are confidential, which policies are public, etc., can help build a strong and secure AI agent. Keeping short term context like recent user sessions plus a long term database of older policies. This is what is needed to activate this AI agent. The fourth dimension is controls. Think about permission management. Authorized users can update the AI agent logic. Monitoring dashboards for tracking how often users query certain coverage types. This can help you understand what types of coverages are being asked for most frequently and how AI agents are responding to it, whether they are responding in the right manner or not. Hence, monitoring is needed because this is a user facing product. Human reviews for complicated policy questions or unclear coverage scenarios. So, having the right tooling to integrate human in the loop is key. The fifth dimension is security. Identity checks like single sign on to confirm each user's role. Encrypted connections for any policies, for data traveling across networks, etc., is crucial here. Policy restricting certain coverage data to managers for higher clearance. Hence, security of all of these documents is important. The last dimension is responsible AI. Keeping guidelines ensuring fair, unbiased retrieval of policies. Everyone should get consistent info regarding of their role or demographics. So ensuring that the grassroots employees are one trained to write the AI agents to give a very fair and unbiased output. And second, having the right monitoring and tooling in place to ensure you can validate whether the outputs have been unbiased or not. Staff training so that people know how AI works and when to override if they spot any error in the AI agent output. So, this is more like training, enabling the grassroots employees. So, that's what we have for today. We recap the fundamentals of people and process and technology dimensions. We explored data, controls, security, and responsible AI in detail, how these dimensions play a role at the grassroots level. It's very important to know we are talking about the grassroots level enablement of an enterprise for AI agents. Then we connected these capabilities to a simple real world example, which is an insurance policy lookup tool, and saw how everything fits together from sensing to learning. For our next episode, we'll tackle another dimension of question, which is should you buy a ready made AI solution or build your own custom one? We'll explore different ways to think about what to buy, what to build, so that you can make the right call for your organization. We don't want to end up in a situation where we build everything, Some of scenarios are very table stakes. We don't need to build solutions for it. But there are some very differentiating capabilities. So we'll talk about that in the next episode. If you found this helpful and if you think it answers some of your burning questions on AI agents, please drop us a note. Tell us how you think about it. I am Karan Gupta. I'm signing off on this note. And thank you so much for tuning in into this episode. See you soon.